Joy, I want to ask you this question. Now that all these scandals, they've been mentioned, Kimoret, right, the arms deal, and now Kine's death, which is at the center of the investigations. What happens to the deputy president? Could he one day wake up and say, there's a lot of these things involving my office, can I just step aside? Is that possible? And what happens after that?
I don't think so.
You don't think he can step aside?
Oh, no, I don't
But there's
think
too
so.
much.
I know, but if I was in his shoes, if you've been in government, let me roll you back the days of Moi, where you would go into a building just before 1 p.m. and you're a minister, and over the lunchtime news you're sacked. By the time you step out of the building, your driver, the bodyguard, everybody has gone,
Yeah.
you're back Raya. If I was in his shoes and I had all these allegations against me, I would rather clear them when I still have the trappings of power than step out and be Raya and have nothing at all and be sitting outside people's offices hoping that they'll give me audience. It doesn't make any sense to think that he would step aside. No matter how loud we tell him to step aside, it doesn't make any sense at all. If I look at it as a politician.
Okay, as a politician, yes.
But like I said earlier, and I will keep pushing this point until it gets home. It's not enough to have allegations. If we're going to go to the DCI and ask for somebody's certificate of good conduct, do you know what the threshold is? Whether you have a conviction. If there is zero conviction, you get a certificate of good conduct. If that is the threshold, therefore, the energy should be in securing convictions and not in casting aspersions and making wild allegations. Because at the end of the day, as a lawyer, I will tell you, only the evidence that has come under the hand and the seal of the court will be considered a conviction. Not what was in the paper, not your sound bites, not all these other things that are on the side. Those things count for nothing at the end of the day. And that's what I'm saying. If we want to have credible leaders, then EACC has to have something to go on. The DCI, when they're showing good conduct, they should have something that has stuck against Joy, that Joy cannot access public office because she's a convicted felon. She's a convicted larcenist. There's something on record. But as long as there's nothing on record, the DCI is not delivering convictions, we are not winning this fight against corruption, because those people who have been accused before will keep accessing those offices, and it will be the same script, different cast. But there's something I want to just point out that Waishimiwa brought out in terms of the tyranny of numbers. Now, I'm one of those people who, when Mutengunyi coined this word, tyranny of numbers, at first it sounded like a bit of hocus pocus. Then after a while, it actually crystallized. And that time we was so sure these ICC people are not making it anywhere to power. But between the two of them and the two big tribes, they pulled off one of the biggest upsets in history. I was seated there looking at the results, wondering to myself, what like zone are we in? But since that time, we have seen everything becoming a game of numbers. We saw with CORD when they're trying to come together, and again with NASA. And there's this thing we keep saying, what are you bringing to the table? What are you bringing to the table? And today I had a suggestion from the speaker, Justin Muturi, about let's have political parties electing based on the mixed member proportional representation. Let's have people electing political parties, and then the parties front who comes in. And I started thinking to myself, you know what, let's think about these numbers. And I went back to what we just got back from the census. And only the first 11 tribes in Kenya have at least 1 million people who are said to be of their tribes. But you know, there's some tribes in Kenya. I have here the Dahalo, the 575 people. As in my relatives alone are more than 575 people. If anybody who says she's my cousin, my second cousin, are more than 575. The Gosha are 685. The Conso are 1299. If we start looking at those fellows, whenever will they be Kenyan enough to marshal enough numbers to access power? When I look at some of the proposals coming through the BBI, I wish that's where our discussion would be. How are we sorting out this issue of people coming together with these political formations? Why can we not move to a place where people vote ideology? Because we're borrowing that, Justin Muturi was borrowing that from what's happening in South Africa, where you elect Jubilee. It's Jubilee to tell us who their presidential candidate will be if they're successful. And if the candidate doesn't keep up with what, like even now, the problem they have with the deputy president, it will be a matter of telling, you know what, you step down, we are putting Ishungwa in your place.
The party itself. Why
don't we come to a place where our political parties mature, that even this El Molo with their 1,104 people can have a chance of accessing leadership in this country? We need to come to a place where this Uhuru support base, Ruto support base, the number of votes we are coming in, that narrative has got to change. Okay. Because as long as we're still talking, what are you bringing to the table? Then what you will have is leaders who don't worry about the rest of you. They just think, like we had before with an earlier politician, it's 2 big tribes and 1 small one, and you're in State House. We have to get past that thinking, and we have to come to a place where some of these considerations that are being put forward by BBI, by the way, some of them need a second thought. Even if BBI is not your cup of tea, there are some of these conversations we need to start having, because there are some people who are Kenyans who will never really feel Kenyan unless some of these hurdles are thrown out from in front of them.
Okay.
Ken, let me take you back to Kimwarer Aror, because you brought it up and you said what I had said of the DCI.
Yes.
Because I don't mince my words when I am stating a fact and the truth. I said then, and I repeat it here about even the ongoing investigations. And Joy says all these other hulabaloo things that are happening, the press conferences and the dramatization, count for nothing. In court, they count for nothing. But in the work the DCI is doing, the political narrative is pushing, they count for everything. That is why we are saying, DCI, please be professional in your work. Kutunyi, when we spoke about Kimwarer and Aror, DCI told us that 21 billion shillings had been lost. The DP only said the money that has actually been paid, fact, was only 7 billion shillings. He never said no money is lost. He said what has been paid is 7 billion. Guarantee. If there is any money that would have been lost, is what has been paid out. 2, the DCI press charges. I think there are, if not 20, about 19 charge sheets in court today on Kimwarer and Aror. Go and check your facts again. How many of those charge sheets have anything to do with theft or loss of money? Even the 7 billion, leave alone the 21 billion. Those are the things Joy is speaking about. If you are professional in how you do your work as DCI, you will go for facts, figures, and the truth. If you are working for your system, Kutunyi, that is so eager to push a political narrative to stop somebody, you will keep contradicting yourself, you will keep making mistakes, and that is all we're asking of the DCI. Lastly, Joy has brought in something on the BBI and all the proposals that have come in. And I listened to what my good friend and speaker, JB Muturi, presented today. And I'll tell you, I don't share those thoughts. In an ideal society, maybe, unlike our Kenyan society as it is today, then that would be a very good system, where we have built political parties around an ideology and you are voting for an ideology that is espoused by that political party, where it becomes a tyranny of ideas and ideology and policies that you espouse as a political party. We are yet to get there, Joy. Today, me and Kutunyi are members of Jubilee, which was a formidable political party. In fact, the dream, the Jubilee dream that was sold to me in 2015, 2016, and I pushed it with so much vigor, including in TV stations like this, was that finally we have this huge political machine, and we even challenged CORD then to form their own big coalition, and they even came up with NASA before the 2017 elections. And I had these hopes and dreams that finally we are getting to that situation where, like in other developed democracies, we would have, like in America, the Democrats and the Republicans, and we now compete on policies, ideas, and how to change the lives of Kenyans. So that whether it is the Dahalo and the other communities with 600 people, my family would, my immediate family would probably be more than those ones. They don't need to have one of their own in office. That Dahalo villager somewhere in Western Kenya, all they need is to be able to be certain that they can educate their children, they have a decent house, they can be able to feed, educate their children, and they can have a life. They don't need to see one of their own. And that is what I thought would be bringing to, would be coming to. The danger with the proposal that JB was pushing for today, a party-based system where parties that are owned by individuals in this country. Fact. True or false?
Okay.
Yes, they are owned by individuals. Yes. So you are telling me the individuals who has the political and socio and economic capital to be able to build huge political parties and machineries, those are the people who will determine who your president will be, who your member of parliament will be, who your MCA will be, who your governor will be.
Okay.
Now, let us stick to universal suffrage.